In this meditation, I will guide you a bit through a journey into your life, and I will point out different areas, different times in your life, and then you can kind of more spontaneous allow the images to come, the people, yeah, and if it's too complex, you might want to just focus on 2 or 3 people. So you don't need to have a visual image. If you are a visual person, then I recommend that you kind of imagine all these people like gathering in front of you, and you don't see them clearly, but you have a sense that they are there, like your friends and your teachers, and they are all there, they are alive, and they look at you with love and smile, and then if there's some people there who also screwed up, you kind of that also happened, but for now I don't focus on this. But you can also not invite them, yeah. So that's also a possibility. And then for some people it's difficult or almost impossible to get into an experience through imagination. So if you're a person like that, so there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you maybe need to borrow yourself a baby and look at it, yeah, instead of imagine something, yeah. And that's fine. I mean, we have all different paths into experience. For some people, it doesn't make sense to imagine a person and then feeling something. Yeah? They don't work like that. So if that is the case, then you can still use that as a rational reflection, this meditation. Yeah? But the others who have a bit of a capacity to get into a feeling through imagination, then we also we notice the response in our body, like how it feels, yeah? What we feel. And so if I go too quick, then you just stay where you are. If I go too slow, for your pace, then you kind of add some things from your side. Yeah? And we are curious in this kind of meditation about all kinds of feelings. So it's not necessarily the case that this will feel all great and I'm so grateful. It could be also sadness, or it could be guilt. Yeah, it could be like all kinds of feelings. So they are all welcome. So if there's not like the big love explosion in you, that's not the purpose here. Yeah? So we go on this journey and we become aware of all the different responses we have to this meditation. Yeah? Okay, I will take about 15 minutes, so that it is not too long. And then if this speaks to you, I mean it will be on this video, but also I have a guided meditation on my SoundCloud, which is called
Find a place of rest.
no,
Connecting with the kindness of
yes, right, that's the one. Connecting with the kindness of others. Yeah, yes. Those who are familiar with the Tibetan tradition, this is actually more narrow in the Tibetan tradition. It's narrowed down to the kindness of our mothers. Yeah? So you reflect, but since many of you have a screwed up relationship with your mother, I kind of, this is not a psychotherapeutical workshop, so then it's kind of helpful to bring in friends and things like that, and the mother also maybe. Yeah. If you can't bring her into this meditation, you definitely need to do some work. Yeah? Unless she was a psychopath, then just leave her. Yeah. I'm not leave her, but I mean, if your mother is a psychopath, then then there was more harm done than genuine care. Yeah? And that happens. People survived horrible childhoods. So let's take a few moments to reconnect with your body. So softening the body, that the energy can flow and you can actually feel something. You can place the attention lightly on the breath, not concentrating on the breath, just lightly, like 20% of your attention capacity. And softening, maybe with the out breaths, relaxing in the belly and in the shoulders if possible. Or feeling the aftermath of the break. How is it for you to be here? And then if you get distracted throughout the meditation, you can always come back to your breath, to your belly, and to the aliveness in your body. So, and then we go back in our life, back to the beginning. And we were born helpless. We didn't know anything. We couldn't protect ourselves. So right from the beginning, there was care and attention. And if you like, we can invite some of these primary caregivers, parents, grandparents, uncle and aunts, brothers and sisters, friends of the family, some favorite people in your family. So, and you can imagine them in front of you or feel them in front of you, and they smile, and whatever they gave to you, you translate it as this loving gaze and this smile. And you're sitting there like sitting in the morning sun with your whole body, and you take in the loving gaze. So what people were there, maybe you had a nanny, and in the neighborhood, maybe when you were a little older, maybe you had older siblings who were looking after you. And just the people who did the feeding, cleaning, protecting you, saving your life, teaching you to speak, and holding you, caressing you, being there when you were sick. Having jobs so that you have food and education. So that's, and you can just see who comes. So maybe there's someone you have forgotten for long. So the breath, the feeling of kindness, of care pouring into you. Then we add our friends. So now, I don't know when you started to have friends, maybe with 3. And some of them have been with you a long time. Then there are other friends for a few years, the friends you still have. So just invite some of your friends, and you don't need to think hard, just allow some of them to come, maybe from childhood, as a teenager, maybe your first romantic relationships. So you invite some of them, people who helped you out, you had fun together, were on your side when you struggled. And whatever your friends gave you, you translate as the loving gaze, the smile, just the sense of affection and care, and that you matter, and it all pours into you into every cell of your body, warmth and kindness. You can also imagine that they surround you, so that you get the shower, the care shower from all directions, also from behind. So you stay connected with the vitality in your body, and maybe alternating a bit the focus from the people to receiving. Maybe you want to focus on a few people where the affection is particularly strong you received. Some of the people, they really made sacrifice for you. Not just a little thing, really. And then the next is teachers. So here we can start with kindergarten. Probably you don't remember anyone, but there were people there, driving you around in Copenhagen in these little wagons. And and then school teachers, and then your educations, university, in your job. So you add some of the mentors and teachers, even if you didn't see them like that, even if you didn't like them, still they contributed to your life. And then there's also, you have some hobbies. You learned things in your life, like playing a music instrument, and so on. Maybe you watch some YouTube videos about how to do things, so you can also add those guys. Just try to have short flashes of the people who taught you something. Yoga teacher, sport teacher, language teacher, that's why you understand what I say. Someone taught you English. And it puts in that affection and that care, that gift. So then we can also add here the spiritual teachers. And here not only the ones you met, but also just the work inspires you. So here like religious teachers, meditation teachers, artists, poets, philosophers, musicians. And they all gather there. And again, you can have maybe a few faces there, but you just get a sense that we are talking about a lot of people. I mean, hundreds probably for most of us. And you bathe in that. And breathing, allowing the energies to flow where they want to flow. And then returning to the reflection. And just to remember a few people, like who taught you, some of the skills you have, some of the things you know how to do. You didn't came up with it with yourself, so someone had to introduce you. So next is a bigger group, and that is all the strangers throughout the life who gave you a gift, who gave you something. And that is from childhood on, people who smiled at you, people who served you in shops, people who helped you out, people who show you the way, people who are considerate. Just the normal daily stuff. Greeting, opening a door, and then possibly remembering some of the exceptional kindness from strangers. Being invited or being really helped out in an emergency situation. So we add all these people there. So we have our family there, our friends, our teachers, and then the strangers. And you receive their gift as a loving gaze and a smile, bathing you, soothing you, filling you up. So, and then the last group, that is the biggest group, and that's all the strangers you have not met, and you don't know who they are, who have in some way contributed to your life. So they didn't have the intention, but we are looking here at the gifts, not at the intention they had. And so that would be, the people who grew the food you ate and who made the clothes you wear and who built this house so that we can have a meeting here and so on and so on and so on. So the water you drink, the things you have, everything is made by others. All your possessions. So when you translate that into the sense that you're taken care of, you receive. So we have our family, our friends, our teachers, the strangers we met, and then the vast group of people. It's probably everyone on this planet somehow in that group. Just translating their contribution to your life, their connection with the pouring in of essence love, holding you, nurturing you, keeping you alive, protecting you. To this moment, all your life, from the beginning. Yes, and then we release them and they all leave happy, gifted, and, and happy that you appreciate them. And then we just sit a few more minutes just quietly with whatever is in the radiance of essence love. So, and by feeling that you're filled, there's naturally, could be there, a move to start to share, start to give. To respond to the care you have received. Pass it on. So this is more a natural movement, so it's not like, oh, you should take care of others or something like that. It's just a natural movement of wanting to shine. It's not an obligation. So are there any questions, comments, rebellious thoughts? Yes.
I just want to say, you still...
No, questions? I'm not doing this with everyone. It's just, you can take it, and we have a bit of a history, so. Yes.
Could you say a few words about the Bodhicitta when you're in deep sorrow?
Yes, one of the practices connected with the development of Bodhicitta is Tonglen, which is giving and taking. In a nutshell, and one could say much more about it, is a bit like, I'm in deep sorrow and I'm not alone with it. So that's, and then if it feels genuine, one could then add, and may through my experience, may this contribute to the liberation of the sorrow in this world. This may be a little bit too much, but there could be a bit of like seeing that a period of sorrow is not like isolated, oh, this is my sorrow, and but it's actually experiencing the shared sorrow of humanity, and living with sorrow and working through it and being with it and somehow trying to do something there is a gift. It's not just your own sorrow. So it's a contribution. When you work on your inner life in terms of healing in crisis, it's more than just your own psyche. We don't exist. We are not these disconnected islands. Yeah. So if you spend your life to find a way to be with in unspeakable sorrow, that's a good life. Even if there's not much space left actually to do something more productively, but this is an honorable life to contribute to the healing in this world by starting with your own inner life. So, and the intention of Bodhicitta, using this life to wake up, so then you would say, okay, through how can I grow as a human being with this sorrow for the benefit of all? In particular, since you work with people, and I don't know if this is a personal question, but then it's even more obvious. Yeah? Because everything you learn in crisis, you immediately can share. That's also wonderful for me to sit here, because all I do is kind of share my own journey. So when I go through sorrow, I'm not doing it just for myself. It's a kind of my little laboratorium. Yeah? And then, of course, if I talk about grief or anxiety, it's much more genuine and much more powerful, even if I have not read all the books. But what I share is personal, and it helped me. So then my crisis is part of my professional growth. I mean, imagine a psychologist who is sane. It's useless. How could she help anyone? But the one with a broken heart and with anxiety disorder, they are the good ones. You want to get one of them. I mean, if you want to work with addiction, you are going to people who went through it and who somehow find a way out of it because they know what they are talking about. I'm not going to a psychologist who's sane. Pay for that.
So if you want a brain surgery, you go to someone who has done it themselves?
That doesn't hold, that example. Okay, something else? Yes.
Can you share a few more thoughts on healing your wounds and
Yeah.
dealing with your childhood trauma?
I have actually been thinking about, doing a course about that because it's. I kind of researched this since many years, and I mean, in the traditional, in using traditional methods, that would be, the practice of guru yoga, mentor bonding process, loving kindness to the child back then. There's also a meditation called May I Be Happy, and then also the practice of Tonglen, the practice of Tonglen with the wound, or with, if you like the word inner child, then the practice of Tonglen with the inner child. So you give yourself back then what you needed back then from a more resourceful state, with the practice of taking and giving, and there's like visualizations there, and so one can learn this practice. And then, I mean, there's so much good work doing done. Maybe one person I wouldn't want to mention is Peter Levine. Yeah? He started this work I think 30 years ago or so. It's called somatic experiencing, which is like a body-oriented trauma work with exercises and so on. It's everywhere. There's a lot of practitioners of somatic experience in Copenhagen, and it's a bit of a self-help. I mean, you don't make yourself dependent. You learn the technique, but it's a bit like peer work also. It definitely needs to be body-oriented. You can't reach trauma with reframing. I mean, cognitive therapy is pretty much useless there. Positive thinking, yeah. I mean, it doesn't go there, because from a tantric point of view, any trauma, be it shock trauma or this little trauma, childhood stuff, daily, is a blockage in the subtle energy body. Yeah. So talking about the chakras and the energy channels, so it is like a blockage in your energy, in your subtle body. And there's similar ideas in Western neuropsychology. So it's really necessary to do some body work. And part of it is just like the shaking, learning emotional release practices. And then also for trauma work, it is important that you first connect with resources. So you don't go towards the trauma from the traumatic me. Yeah? So you need to connect with a groundedness, with in the Buddhist tradition that would be taking refuge, and the mentor bonding process and the developing of bodhicitta, and then you go towards the trauma. So you always first reconnect with resources. And if you can't do that, you do it with a therapist, because he or she makes the space bigger so that the trauma can be relived within a bigger loving space. And in that, the energy is freed in it. Yeah. After, there is also the practice of feeding the demon. in the Tibetan tradition. So that would be also a practice. But obviously, you don't want to do this alone if you are experiencing overwhelm. If you do trauma, this kind of meditations without sufficient space, then you re-traumatize yourself. So that's like if you work with a therapist, she will always guide you in the right way, not so kind of short moments, maybe not too close, and then doing a lot of the grounding work. And the grounding work could take a few years for some people. If you don't have a safe place available within you, then you need to put some work into it, because the safe place is there. You just need to make contact with it. There's much more safe place in you, much more than the trauma. Yeah, I mean, it's like an iceberg, and the trauma is this, and then there's so much safe space, but we can't see it because trauma disconnects. Yeah. Yes.
Isn't it also working by itself? Because I sometimes realize I have a dream, and then it tells me something about that trauma has been released, because that is what I get out
Yes.
of it.
Yeah, but I assume.
Sometimes I think, where did that come from?
Yeah, but I assume this also has to do with the practices and reflections you do. I don't think that it could be. I mean, there's a self-healing capacity in our psyche and in our body, and it does its work. But I assume also, I mean, if we kind of make a leap of faith into the Tibetan Buddhist teaching, just sitting in this room and seeing at the symbols of bodhicitta and health, mental health, has an impact on your psyche. And it might be unconscious, but it does its work in its dreams. And then something kind of can happen, yeah? And you have a dream where something releases, yeah? But it's probably not it just fall from the sky, because it's just has to do with also what you else put into this body-mind system. Yeah? And then sometimes it might be helpful to kind of get some help, but one can also just trust the journey and continue what you're doing, and then, because it's of course it's always a risk to connect with any idiot. I mean, to find someone who really helps you, it's not so easy. Yeah? Okay, so that was Bodhicitta. There's much more to say. Maybe I add next time, but next time will be a long time, because I want to cancel the next 3 Tuesdays. So I will be back in April, and
Where are you going?
I will go to Nepal. And
When?
in March and April. I mean, part of March and part of April.
So you are flying in the beginning of March.
Doesn't matter. No, not in the beginning, but so I think it's not finalized yet, since this room is rented. So there will be something here, and there's different ideas. I mean, maybe inviting another teacher, or doing some group activities, watching a movie, or something like that. Yeah, so, but you can find the information then on Facebook and on the website. Yeah? And then I will be back in April. Yeah, so there will be not so many meetings this semester. But anyway, I can die at any time. So better, if I'm here, come, because, don't think I can go next week. Maybe you are dead or I'm dead. Or something like this happens. I'm taking care of my mother, so it's actually any time I can just not come for I don't know how long.
And you're going for a retreat?
In April? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Take care. And see you maybe.